This week was a total battle between the algorithm, the vision I have in my head, just AI spiraling all together. Welcome back to another episode of Fits and Foundering, where I wear my favorite outfit of the week from my app Style by Taylor, and we talk about whether I was foundering, aka actually running a new business, or floundering, which is what I did most of Saturday morning. But first, before we get into that, a little bit of a moment for the outfit. This is what Taylor called the creative power suit, and honestly, it was one of those aha moments. It was a moment where I had put this scarf that I'd owned for 10 years, that I'd never worn, into the app and thought I'll just try my luck with it. And it popped out what it called the creative power suit, and honestly, I just love it. It was an outfit that I thought was inspiring and fun and really easy for me to wear to the office with a pop of color in a very, very, very cold winter New York. So it ticked all of those boxes. And it's so interesting because people in the office and in my personal life have been talking about kind of stepping into my own a little bit more. And people were saying things like, oh, I feel like you've really upped your style this year. I have to only thank the app. It's given me the opportunity to really close the gap on who I want to be and have that reflect on the outside. And it's really lessening what I call the identity tax. So like that real emotional rush of trying to get ready or trying to figure out who you want to be that day, and really starting to close that gap. So that's super exciting to see that, because that's the whole reason that we actually built this. All of that, there was still this moment of, even when I was getting ready to film this episode of Fits and Foundering, of just, is this cool enough? Does it look right? Is it giving the right vibe, the message that I want to portray? And that spiral of just going, how do I want to show up and walk in this world, which I think is just such an important question. But it's also a really key theme of this week, and so that brings us to what we'll be talking about, which is authenticity over aesthetics. So this week was definitely a three-way battle. AI 1, socials 1, Amy 0. I was in just this absolute spiral of the Instagram aesthetic trap. It's such an easy one to fall into, especially when you start doing competitive research, or you look at other people who you aspire to be and you think, how on earth am I going to grow this cold Instagram account into something that has a whole bunch of quality, useful information with a bunch of followers that are like interacting. And it's so overwhelming when you first start with it, because I know that to an extent, if you keep putting up rubbish content, then what you will get is Instagram essentially considering that your content is not quality. And I was so fearful that I was gonna like completely wrong up my algorithm and end up at the bottom of a trash heap that I was gonna have to claw my way out to just by trying, just by giving it a go. And it was absolutely terrifying. I think in this moment, I just completely spiraled. And when I get overwhelmed, I turn to what I know, which is what most people do. For me, that is data and it's facts. And so I turned to a tool that I had made a while back, which essentially was like a Reddit listening tool, where it would look at a summary of comments and themes and feeds and go, okay, what's useful out of this? What are people saying? And I had it programmed to things like capsule wardrobe and stylist and fashion, which are super heavy information overload topics, right? There's so much conversation on those threads alone. And then I looked at some of the data from the stuff I had posted, like what was performing well. My Ronald McDonald post had definitely the biggest engagement piece because I was being super relatable and authentic, and of course that was going to perform well. But I can't dress like Ronald McDonald every day. I took the Reddit data and I took my social media data and I took my strategy document and I put it all into one Gemini gem and went, give me some content ideas, thinking that this magic button would just produce this amazing list of things that made sense for me and my brand. And what I found was that it was giving me just the most rubbish hooks ever. Like it would say, sit on the floor and cry in a pile of clothes, or look in the mirror and tug at your shirt and then look really pensively at the camera and say, stop the morning rot. And I'm like, this sounds awful. Like, I'm not posting that. It's just not happening. I was stuck in this moment of going, well, what the heck do I do? And I did something that I don't typically ever do, which is I just put all of the AI tools down. And I went, let's just start from the beginning. What are you trying to achieve? What problem are you trying to actually solve by putting these things together? Honestly, this was the best thing I could have ever done. I sat down and I went, what's working? Where are the ideas coming from at the moment? What makes them special? Why do I think that they are better than the stuff that this AI agent is producing? Although the benchmark was very, very low. And I went, what's blocking me from getting to this point that I can envision with these bits of information that I currently have? And the realization of it all was not actually the data that I had, but it was my strategy. And when I say strategy, I don't mean some like long, big, scary document. I think people go, strategy. I mean, like, who's my target audience? What do I think that they would like about this app? What are they currently doing? And what are we going to try and have to convince them to do in order to download the app? Like push, pull, habit, anxiety format. And I think that that framework gave me a really solid foundation for me to go, well, actually, I've got two really different points of view in this one strategy document. So when I'm putting it into AI, it's confused because I'm confused. Like, you put garbage in and you get garbage out. That's like the number one rule of AI. So I went back to the drawing board, I re-looked at it and went, okay, what is the position that we have as a brand? And for me, it's always come back to this idea that we are not one person. We never will be. And even brands and apps and everybody telling us to be yourself, what does that even mean? We're never ever going to show up and say, I am these three things on a regular basis. That's just not how life rolls. Super interesting way for me to reframe it. And now that I've got crystal clear on that piece, I can put that back into the AI. Think of it like an intern. Like, you're essentially paying an intern to come and work on your behalf. And if you can't explain to them what you do, then they're not going to be able to execute anything. So after I took some big deep breaths and got out of my, oh my god, I can't do social media anymore, this is just awful, I'm going to outsource it and never ever touch Instagram again, spiral. Once I stripped all of this stuff away, I was looking at really niche, tiny little data points with no framework, no understanding of how I wanted the dots connect, no understanding of how I wanted this to overlay and translate into the world. And I had to do all of that thinking so that I can instruct my Gemini gem on how to do those bits and pieces. And so really stripping it back, I went, what is the most important thing for me on my personal brand as well as the Taylor brand? And that's where I came up with the catchphrase, authenticity over aesthetics. This is not a fashion app. This isn't going to make you, well, I mean, it might do in some instances, but it's not going to make you the most stylish person in the room. That's not what this is for. This app is designed to help you be your most authentic self, whoever that might be today. And that can change. One moment, I want to stomp around in my Doc Martens and I want to feel fearless and amazing and feel like super powerful in a me kind of way. And then other days, I want to feel a little softer. I want to wear creams or nice fluffy jackets because I want to feel more like a cloud or a burrito. And both those people are okay. And I think that app is designed to help you understand what is it that you're looking for today and then translate that into an external way of expression. With that North Star, it really sets the foundation of the tone, the color. It was so funny, even like the brand and the UI. I went, this is where we're going. And it was like a total aha moment that I thought I had already had. I thought I'd established this and I had this beautiful document and reality, like the core human truth of us not wanting to be misread, misunderstood, misaligned. That piece was really, really missing. How that can permeate out and ripple effect into everything else that we do. So now that I've established that we're not going for viral pretty, that we're going for authentic, Taylor, connecting where you are, are, that gives me a good framework. And I can honestly look at some of the pieces that I'm creating or we're going to post this week and go, were you prioritizing aesthetics or authenticity in this, and give it a little bit of a metric, and so that I can then step into this world knowing, yep, that feels authentically the brand. Nope, that doesn't feel, it feels too curated, or it feels like I'm sitting on a floor crying in a puddle of clothes. Again, not the vibe. Because at the end of the day, I had to assess this week whether I was foundering or floundering, and I can 100% say with certainty that it was a floundering week. The amount of times I typed into AI going, "You're not listening to me," should have been a key indicator that perhaps I was the problem. So this week was a bit of floundering. We've reset. I woke up 5 a.m. this morning with ideas, a positive attitude, a much better feeling, and a sense of knowing with this direction that can not only guide everything we do, but really guide who we are. So, was a floundering week, but we're set up for success, and I'm super excited to share with you how next week goes. But thank you for tuning in.